Hi, I'm Ladia. Welcome back to Your Money Always Matters. If you've ever had to deal with someone's final affairs when they pass, then there's some information in this video that I would like to share with you. Most people think that because an estate is small, that it is simple, and sometimes it is, but that's not how I've always seen it play out. Because even if you can use a small estate affidavit, there are still details, responsibilities, and other things that go along with settling the estate. So in this video, I will tell you what it is, when you can use it, and point out some of the things that most people just don't realize as they're going through this process. A small estate affidavit is a document that may be used to collect certain assets on behalf of a decedent's estate. So instead of going through the formal process of opening up an estate, this document may be used to collect certain items like bank accounts or other personal property. So when can you use that small estate affidavit? Well, it's going to depend upon each particular state's document. For example, the state of Indiana, the dollar threshold is $100,000 or less to be able to use a small estate affidavit. It also depends upon what type of assets there are. So for bank accounts and other personal property, it may be used for that purpose. It also depends upon how the accounts are titled. So if the decedent held accounts in joint ownership or had other accounts with beneficiaries listed, then those accounts would fall outside of the estate and pass directly to those individuals. As an example, for the state of Indiana, the individual that is completing and signing a small estate affidavit is attesting to the following: that the decedent's information is correct, that 45 days has elapsed since the decedent's passing, that it meets the dollar amount, and that there are no other entries for the executor or for an administrator for the estate. They are also confirming the heirs for the estate and their portion, and they're also collecting that money or the accounts on behalf of the heirs. So I want to take a moment and answer a question from a viewer. And the question was, does the small estate affidavit have to be filed with the court? And it really depends upon each state. For most states, all you have to do is present the small estate affidavit with a death certificate to claim personal property. Some other states, if real estate is involved, it may need to be filed with the courts. So in this case, it just really depends upon the state. I encourage anyone to check with their local jurisdiction to see if it has to be filed within your particular state. I recall early in my career an individual coming into the bank with a small estate affidavit and a death certificate, wanting to have the funds released immediately. What they did not realize is that a formal estate process had already been started. And so everything had to pause because there were two different paths at this point. One was with the small estate affidavit being presented, and the other one was with the formal probate being entered through the court. And so at that point, everything had to stop. Funds could not be released because at that point, everything had to go through the court-appointed executor for the estate. So here's another thing that individuals that collect assets on behalf of the estate with a small estate affidavit don't realize, and that is the additional responsibility that comes along with it. So if you are collecting funds, paying bills, then you may have stepped into that role without actually realizing it. And because you are in that role, you may also be expected to do other things like file the final tax return for the decedent. And that's where things can shift a little bit. And so as part of this series, I want to talk about the role of the executor and or the administrator and share that information with you so that you would know more about it before you step into that role. And if this information has been helpful to you, please subscribe and share my content and come back because your money always matters.